Good morning, and welcome to Levels and Medz here on the Bridge 99 FM with me, your host, Jeffrey Azan. Remember, folks, the Bridge 99 is on the entire 99 bandwidth. That's 0.1, 0.3, 0.5, 0.7, and 0.9. If you want, you can check us out online, see what's happening in studio at thebridge99fm.com. And if you're on the move, you can download our mobile app in the Android Play Store or Apple App Store by simply searching The Bridge 99 FM, all one word. Today on Levels and Medz, we're going to be looking at the topic women in leadership roles and the impact they have on creating a more diverse and inclusive workplace. Said another way, climbing that proverbial corporate ladder and smashing the glass ceilings along the way. For those of you who are not aware, tomorrow is Women's Day, International Women's Day. And this month on Levels and Medz, we're really dubbing it Money March. So with those two things in mind, we're going to have a phenomenal woman with us, a powerhouse of a woman. I asked her what her other titles are. She said Boss Mom in Charge, which I think that's her better title of the two. But we're going to be getting into much more details. She is the CEO of Proven Properties, and her name is Mrs. Aisha Campbell. But we're going to be talking to Aisha in just a little bit. We want to recognize International Women's Day here. The world is celebrating it in a number of different ways, but the two major themes for this year's International Women's Day are embrace equity and digit all. I like to play on words. Digit all, innovation and technology for gender equality. So it's a long-standing debate of equity and equality, something that I know we're going to get into on today's show. Folks, this is one of those very interesting topics. Of course, as a man in Jamaica, I am asked and challenged with this question very often. What do I think of women in the workplace? I have had female bosses. I've had female employees. And I'll give you this. This is my opinion. This is the truth. This is the hard facts. People are people. End of discussion. It's not really about whether you're a man or a woman. It's about whether you do your job or you don't do your job, your attitude, your approach, your development. That's really what it's about to me. I know many people out there have different opinions and different stances on what advances and what holds back people in the workforce. But enough from me. Folks, let us introduce our guest. Now, want to really give her all of her props and dues. She is CEO of the Proven Properties with a passion and enthusiasm towards innovation. She's helped to make her mark in the fields of construction, development, and engineering. She's a registered professional engineer with a degree in civil engineering in both Jamaica and the United States, and she has been instrumental in the successful planning and execution of several large-scale housing communities throughout Jamaica. For those of you who have ever been on Braemar Avenue, Via at Braemar, that was one of her projects, and they have a number of other projects coming up. So you definitely want to check out Proven Properties, being led by this phenomenal woman, Mrs. Aisha Campbell. Woo! Folks, help me welcome Aisha. Woo!
Thank you so much, Jeffrey. Thanks for having me on your program.
Aisha, it is a pleasure. For those of you who don't know, in the radio world, we tend to talk to our guests before they get into studio, get to know who they are, and they get to know who we are. And I'm here to tell you guys, in the short time I've gotten to know Aisha, we're going to be in for a very authentic and very honest conversation around this topic of women in leadership. Aisha.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Folks,
very honored to be here.
She is fantastic, and she looks fantastic, and she is full of fantastical energies this morning. But we want to jump straight into it. Aisha, we reached out on the socials and we asked the people, what are the barriers holding women back from leadership roles? And we got a number of public opinions. Mm-hmm. We got men. Mm-hmm. We got misogyny. We got patriarchy. I kind of feel like the three of them kind of fall in the same category.
Yes.
But
different words.
Right, different words for the same thing. But we also got other women. We got self. Mm-hmm. We got majoring in the minor. Mm-hmm. And well, we got some that would just take up the whole show if I was to give you the full listing of what the people shared. But as a woman, folks, she's the CEO of Proven Properties, aka as far as that very particular corporate channel, she's gotten to the top of it. There's nothing really above CEO other than board of directors. Right?
Correct.
So she's at the top. She's made it all the way to the top. So she has gotten that leadership role. Yeah. What were some of the things in your experience along the way that held you back? Is it really always, as many of the poll answers would suggest, that 8 out of 10 times it's men that hold women back from leadership roles? Was that your experience?
No.
Okay. All right. So we're already debunking
the
perspective.
But in my specific
your
case,
specific journey,
I think all of those answers are valid.
Answers.
Yes, they are valid.
But they're not your answers.
But they're not necessarily my answer. I would say my biggest challenge was me. So the self one, I think, and I think it is the case for a lot of women. I'm not saying externally the environment may not have an impact on whether we get to achieve our goals or move up that corporate ladder. But I think a lot of the time that self-doubt, that internal self-doubt, where as a woman, I think we feel like we have to have, if we're going for something, we need to have covered 99 to 100% and of whatever it is. I give the example all the time. A man may look at a job description and like, oh, I can do 60% of this. I got this. I'm the boss. I'm great.
At 60%.
At 60%. A woman would look at it and say, no. And they may be at 95. Oh my goodness, I don't have that 5%. I am not qualified. I cannot go for this. I need to close that 5% gap. I think a lot of the times it has to do with our internal, and in my case, self-doubt, where you're like, no, I haven't done the 10 degrees and I haven't gotten 20 years of experience. And you would find, I think innately men just go out there and take the risk a little bit more. As one of my many mentors in life, you're just strong and wrong, where it's saying, it's saying, I know I have this 60%. I'm confident in this 60%. Yes. So I'm not looking at the 40% I don't have. I'm focusing on that 60 I do. Yes. But you're saying in your particular journey, you found yourself focusing on the 5% you didn't have versus the 95 that you did. Correct, Jeffrey. And so what it did was it rendered me in this space of uncertainty and fear. So when I was moving, I was the head of the development division of Wicon. I was with Wicon for 20 years prior to coming to move into Proven. And I can tell you, it took me about 5 years to build up the courage to take that step. There was also the internal politics that I didn't think that I would go any further. My boss was a male, and I didn't think that they would let me lead a large construction company. But so there was that force. But the other force was just that fear that you talk about. Even though you had that voice in your head saying, you need to step out there. You need to go out there and do something that may not be comfortable. It will be uncomfortable. You will be uncomfortable, but that is the only way that you will grow.
I'm here for it because I'm a big believer in the idea of the world we have is created by the decisions and the actions that we take. We cannot control circumstance. We cannot control events. We cannot control strains and challenges and situations, but we control how we respond to all of it.
Absolutely.
So it really is one of those things where, what am I doing? And I shared that sentiment of lack of belief in self. I think even to this day, a lot of people, before I got into radio, and I still do it, I tour and I stage and I motivational speak and I pump up and I run workshops on how to believe in yourself and how to achieve and how to get it. But then you have those weeks where all of this stuff. It's about belief. It's about approach. It's about perspective. And then you have that one morning you get up and you're like, not today.
No.
I'm just not feeling it. And you have to
pump yourself up.
Pump yourself up. You have to become your own coach and your own motivational speaker in this regards. And in fact, one particular response to the poll gave an answer that said,
women need training in self-assertiveness.
That is exactly it. That is absolutely on point, right? And I go back to this thing. A lot of what holds us back as women and men, as people, is steeped in fear. Fear. You see that one thing, that fear, right? Fear of the unknown, fear of making the wrong choice, fear of failure, right? And so for me, I had to recalibrate and say, you know what, Aisha, if you're feeling uncomfortable, and I keep having this conversation every day when I don't want to do something or when I'm afraid, I'm saying this means that you've never done it before and this is an opportunity to grow. When I feel uncomfortable, it's an opportunity to grow. So I kind of flip the script in my mind versus saying I'm not going to do it. I'm saying I'm going to do it because that means I've never done it before. It's not something I'm comfortable with, and I'm going to grow. And this journey, the journey that you talk about up the corporate ladder, or however you want to describe it, is about growth. You start off, you go into your career, you enter the industry at one level. How do you take it all the way? Regardless of the constraints. There will be constraints. There will be men there. There will be bosses that you probably cannot deal with, but you make your choices. You still have that power to make the choice.
Folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break. But before we go to commercial, I just want to pull everything that was said into just one quick nugget, is the fact that the rise up the corporate ladder is about growth first and foremost. And that growth is only going to happen when you feel the fear. As Aisha said, flip the script when you feel the fear, because fear is an indicator you haven't done it before. And it's probably the thing you need to do in order to go to that next level in your life. We're going to take a quick commercial break and be right back with the CEO of Proven Properties, Mrs. Aisha Campbell.
And we're back to Levels and Meds with me, your host, Jeffrey Azan, here on the Bridge 99 FM. For those of you just tuning in, we are speaking with Mrs. Aisha Campbell, the CEO of Proven Properties, on the topic Women in Leadership Roles and the impact that has on creating a more diverse and inclusive workplace. Aisha, we really tackled the question a while ago, what are some of the barriers holding women back from leadership roles? And you really kind of said, in your experience, we're not going to say it's the absolute answer, correct, but in your experience, you found that it was you holding yourself back most of the time. But your first degree,
Yes,
was in civil engineering. First and second was in civil engineering. And for any of the women out there who have pursued any form of engineering, you'll find that engineering and a lot of the offshoots of engineering tend to be considered a big boys club. Whether you're looking at engineering or some of the offshoots like architecture, some of the later roads like construction and development, contractors, etc. So you really entered what has been historically a male-dominated workforce, a male-dominated leadership, a male-dominated hierarchy. What even allowed you to gravitate towards entering an industry like that, even as a student?
So, Jeffrey, what I would say is that I always loved the technical subjects, math, physics, the sciences. And so at first I was thinking of doing computer and electrical engineering. And then the concept of civil engineering, what it did was it allowed my creative side. I felt that it would allow my creative side to come out more. Why I say that? Now I'm in real estate, where we look at a piece of land and we visualize what we can do with this, and then I get to see it happen. Like I get to see that vision come to reality in a Braemar or a Cesar or any of my projects that I would have done in the past. So, and I'm a creative as well as technical. So it allowed me to use both sides, I would say, of my brain. And so that's really how I gravitated to that area, not even thinking at the time, oh, this is only for guys. I was good at this. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. Okay, fast forward. And you do realize, wow, you're in a very male-dominated field. You step into the first year or first day of work at Wicon. Wicon was my first hire. And you step into the drawing room, drafting office, and there are like 10 guys and probably one woman, one other woman, right? And you're like, wow, okay. What I've always relied on is my competence, because I have had to stand in that knowledge and stand in that power in many instances where a man would want to mansplain or try to make it seem like you don't know what you're doing. Yeah, I've gotten that many times in the industry. Like, where this woman come from? Who's she? And I mean, like, and I stand in my knowledge that I know my work, I know my industry, and so I just answer back. You have other challenges, like when you speak to a man or the workmen on site, a man can come and speak to them and cuss them all manner of bad words and get away with it. If you even speak to them sternly, you're disrespecting them as a woman.
Boy, ya boy them up.
Boy, ya boy them up, right? So these are some of the inequities when you're working in an industry like this, where things are seen differently coming from a woman than from a man. But as I said before, you now, as a woman, have to look at, okay, how can I work this system to make it work for me, right? How can I make sure, because by the time I'm done with my team on site, they're prepared to do anything on my projects for me.
There you go. There you go. There you go. There's so much we can unpack from there, but before I even go there, I have a female friend. She was in graphic design and art, so you'd almost call it more of a female direction,
right,
or typically female career path.
Right.
But she ended up in, I like to say, a crusty back male industry where some tough, hard neck man, and she had to go around there. But how she got them on her side is she showed them, as you said, her competence.
Yes.
When she got to welding, everybody have to step back and say, hold on, but she can weld.
Exactly.
And she wasn't afraid to go on site, and she met them where they were.
Absolutely.
And demonstrated confidence, and without a title or a promotion or everyone needs to go out and pay attention to what she has to say, she won their admiration, just as you're explaining right now, and eventually became their leader with or without title.
Absolutely.
But something else you said that I'm a big champion of, and I wish more people would gravitate towards it, is you figured out what you were good at. You said, you realized you're good at the technical and you had a yearning for the creative, and you found a path, we'd say an educational path that merged the two.
Absolutely.
And I think so many of us don't step into our strengths. I like to say that everybody's built like a pyramid, with the things that we're really good at the top and all the things we're not good at the base. And everybody focuses on fixing all the things they're not good at, rather than seeing how high can I get this pyramid to go by enhancing the things I'm actually good at.
That things at the bottom is like the 5% I was talking about
Exactly.
for the woman, or 40% or whatever percentage, but you focus down there and let that take up your energy.
Exactly.
And that's not going to propel you forward.
Exactly, because you're looking at each individual in life. The reality is that we're all only going to be good at a few things. And as a DJ friend of mine likes to say, we're going to be trash at a lot of other things.
Yes.
And we just have to accept
You need to know and
we're
accept.
going to be trash at some things. If
Yeah.
I got out on the track right now, despite my size and athleticism, I'm probably the slowest guy on the track. I'm not a sprinter nor a long distance runner. It's just the reality.
It's not your thing.
It's not my thing.
Yeah.
But you put me on a stage to present, and I'm going to wow, and I'm going to put on the show, and I'm going to get the people moving, because that is my thing.
Right.
And I definitely really applaud that first notion, that first step in that path to promotion, that first step in that path to leadership is stepping where your strengths are.
Stepping where your strength and your passion. You have to love what you do.
I personally don't think the two are separate,
Right.
I think your passion is a derivative of
Obviously.
using your strength to do something you
That you
consider
love.
important or that you love,
Okay.
and then the passion comes from it.
Absolutely.
I love it. Folks, I hope you're taking notes, I really hope you guys are taking notes right now, because a lot of the time we look at our circumstances that holds us back. As I said, in the poll, a lot of people pointed everywhere else, which those circumstances are all valid circumstances, but there was, who is it? I think it's Bob Marley said, when you point one finger at somebody, a four-finger pointing back at you.
Yeah.
You have to remember that.
I learned, and as I said, and I've said it before, I've said it in articles before, I was blessed, I have been blessed to have a lot of good male mentors along the way, right?
We're not all bad.
No, not at all. And, my boss used to say, be cause in the matter. What does that mean? That means you take control. You make your choices. We can sit and we can point fingers, or we can do something about it.
I'm here for it. It's not about talk, it's about action.
It's about action, even when it comes to your life choices and your life decisions.
I love it. No, you had the education and you had the technical training. You explored that passion and you refined it into a skill and a talent.
Mm-hmm.
You also spoke on the idea of competence in the field.
Yes.
And for me, that's the first step in leadership. If you're going to lead anybody, you must have a solid base of knowledge and competence.
Yeah.
How different, and I think this is something a lot of people struggle with, how different was acquiring that competence in the field versus garnering that education in the classroom? Because I find the two worlds to be so far apart.
So far apart.
How do you navigate that? Because in the classroom, I'm sure you got the sense that this was male dominated, but it didn't hit you until you stepped into that first day at Wicon.
Yes.
Where, I'm sure you've seen a lot of shine heads. I don't know, I my head's starting to shine a little bit.
Yes.
But you look around and you see all those shine heads and you go, oh, this is going to be interesting.
Yes.
How do you bridge that gap between the formal education and the competence?
How I have and I continue to bridge that gap, because we're learning and we're growing every day, Jeffrey, is just to be really open to experiences and learning. I think you would have heard, and I'm sure persons have heard, listeners, about the growth mindset. I think that's fundamentally how I've approached life, because I did not graduate from my first degree at UE or my second degree at Georgia Tech and say I knew it all. That was never my approach, because the guy or the woman that I would have met that has been in this industry for 15 years or 10 years, they had something to teach me, and I was willing to learn. I was willing to understand, learn, and grow. Because when you come out of your formal education, you know the base, you have the technical base, but there's nothing like actually experiencing it out there day to day, right? And I want to just make this point, just as a leader and as I lead at Proven Properties, you're never ever, your title never elevates you to the point where you cannot roll up your sleeve and actually, get into it. When we were talking about Via at Bremer that we launched in the middle of the pandemic, and to finish that project, I had to put on my hard boots, put on my hard hat, get back into engineering and go out there with the team and push to finish for our customers.
Folks, just so you can understand the contrast of that, you need to go over to thebridge99fm.com and actually see how Aisha is dressed this morning. Because I don't think you really appreciate the idea of the rolling up the sleeve and the boots and the, she is here in the hot pink this morning. Maybe, I don't know, do you have a pink hard hat?
No.
Okay, I just had to check.
You do what you have to do.
Absolutely.
You do what you have to do, and no role in the organization is supposed to be below you, because you're working as a team. You support your team members.
Love that. When we're talking about leadership in an organizational fashion, it's a common belief that the higher up the ranks you go tends to be the less technical knowledge you require and the more human skills you require. Do you agree with that statement? And whether you agree or disagree, how's that journey of transitioning from the technical knowledge to the human skills been for you?
Okay, so definitely the human skills, leadership. We tend to sometimes put technocrats to lead people, and they did that with me too. And at first, I was horrible at it. They took an engineer who was just about deadlines and very, very
numbers
and
schematics,
and said, go lead people. But I was trained, and over time grew in terms of dealing with people, which is the biggest part of leadership. Now, don't get me wrong, I still think the technical is important, especially in my field, because you don't want somebody to put something in front of you and it's pure foolishness and you can't identify. So the technical still always plays a role. You still need to know your business.
You could say the technical is a language that everybody has to speak.
It is the language that everybody has to speak. It allows you and it allows you to still be able to be that gatekeeper, the checks and balances in your organization. Very, very important. But that people part is huge. And I heard you speaking earlier about, men versus women, but it's just people. When I hire for competence, yes, but on attitude. I hire on potential. I hire on the energy you're going to bring into my space and into the space of my team members. Huge on that. And so sometimes the hire may be a woman, sometimes the hire may be a man, but those are the attributes that I look for.
It's not only about aptitude. You need aptitude to be able to do the job, but more than aptitude is attitude.
Absolutely.
Woo. Folks, I'm so happy I get the opportunity to do this program, because I get to meet people who, though of different minds and perspectives, share this belief. And I really love that. I almost want to say, as a nation, we're moving in this direction, because the more leaders I speak with, the more business owners I speak with, we are encouraging this concept that you could be a great worker, you could be a phenomenal worker, but if you are coming in my space as poison, if you're coming in my space to create disruption,
absolutely,
I love you, but I'm gonna have to let you go.
We cannot be in the same space together. Do not bring your negative energy. We protect that at Proven Properties. I protect that for me and for my team members, because we work collaboratively. And if you're coming to disrupt it, of course we're going to have, but respect is fundamental. You're going to have differences of opinion. Respect is fundamental, right? So, and that is, listen, what you have seen Proven Properties do under my leadership in the last 5 years, it's a 6 or 7 person team, right?
Only 6 or 7.
It's 6 or 7. For most of the time, it was about 4 or 5 of us. And we got it done because we really are committed to our goals and we work well as a team. This is not about the Aisha alone leading Proven Properties. And every time, if I post something, if I speak on what we've done, it is a collaborative effort. And I think leaders need to really understand, women or men, female or male leaders, that you cannot do it alone. You cannot. The people component is the critical component.
There you go. The people component is the critical component. Well, in regards to that, how do you elevate the people? Because if somebody comes into your organization just as they are, and they're going to come in with that base level of skill, a certain level of experience, but they're not a team member yet. As a leader, and I guess one of the tests of are you a leader is how do you integrate that person into your team? And I think that's going to be a critical skill for anybody looking that next level, that next promotion, is the ability to integrate people into the vision, the mission, the workflow, the teamwork, the collaboration. How do you go about integrating those individuals into the team?
Right. So the first thing I really promote, and you said it at the start, was authenticity. I think a lot of us, and what I've found, Jeffrey, is a lot of persons come on my team and they've had really horrible work experiences in their past. They literally come to the team traumatized with a whole bunch of baggage, thinking, well, this person is out to get me, or I have to make them feel safe. When they come like that, the first thing I have to do once I know that this person can grow into what I envision and what they want for themselves, make them feel safe. You know, we're here for you. We're here to support you. Nobody's here to throw you under the bus, right? Then I'm very deliberate about professional development plans for my team. Where you come in, I believe, right or wrong, that you must grow out of your job or grow out of your role or grow out of the organization. Go start your business at some point in time. But in other words, you must be growing at all times. And my role, I don't really measure my success. Yes, I want to make money. And yes, of course, we're proven and we want to be successful. But just on an individual level, I measure, how are my people doing? How are they growing? When I look back and I say, okay, I met you 5 years ago, and you stand up and you present and you own in the space, I feel so proud. So proud.
Love that. Love that. The Tony Robbins has a thing where he says a lot of people pursue happiness, but happiness is very often the end result of growth, and growth is a result of progress. Mm-hmm. So once you've established that professional development plan and people can see and feel the progress, then the result is growth, which then by byproduct will give you happiness. Absolutely. And a happy team is going to be a productive team. It's going to produce. They're going to do the long be on hours. Fire.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
We've been talking a lot about the skill set of a leader, and we've hammered down a number of things. And folks, I'm here to tell you, and I'm sure Aisha will back me on this, you have to become a leader before you get the title of leader.
Yes. It's a journey.
It's a journey. So you need to demonstrate the competence. If you don't have it, you need to go and get it. Don't wait until you're given the position to then figure it out. You need the human skills, but of course the technical skills. You have to be able to speak the language. Surround yourself with the right people of similar attitude, so that it's going to be about the teamwork, the collaboration, the cohesion. And as a leader, remember, you're responsible for your team. Make sure that they are achieving, not just doing the work.
Right.
And those are just a few of the things. Guys, for those of you who don't know, all of Levels and Medz episodes, all of our interviews go onto the Bridges YouTube channel. So if you miss something during the show and you want it back, head on over to our YouTube either the day of or right after the next day, and you can rewatch any of the episodes. All right? Because I do that, and I feel like I learned stuff that I never caught during the interview. Want to shift gears here quickly, Aisha. Sure. We've spoken a lot about the qualities of a leader, but I want to speak to very practical about your rise as a leader. So I want to start from the very beginning. How did you even get into Wicon? So I want to get into engineering. I want to get into development. How did you get into the industry as an employee?
Okay, let's talk about how I got into Jamaica. Cause
well. For our international audience, they might need that.
Yeah, so I did. I met my husband in Trinidad at University of the West Indies. He's Jamaican, and so I came to Jamaica.
So he's an importer.
I'm not sure I love that word, but we'll work with it. So we're both civil engineers, and sent out my resume, and Wicon employed me. Well, I chose.
You had the competence.
Yes, I chose. I got a few offers, and I went with Wicon because I was told, because not being from Jamaica, that they're one of the largest housing developers, and I'd get good training, and I did, right? And I do have to give credit to the Wicon way and the ICD group way of training persons, because over time, as I said, I came in as a junior engineer, moved up to a senior engineer, went off to do my master's, and came back, and they're like, we're taking you right back. I was then made chief engineer. That's now when I started the leadership thing, more of you're not just doing your own designs in your own little corner, you're starting to lead people now as chief engineer. And I'm like, okay, I suck at this. But they trained me. They sent us on training. And so it's about being very deliberate about building up those leadership skills. Went from chief engineer to general manager of the entire development arm of the company. And at that point, after doing that for about 5 years, is where I started feeling I'm kind of bucking here. Because the CEO of Wicon, I didn't see that he was going anywhere anytime soon, or that they were really mindful to promote me, a woman who at the time they felt, and it's interesting, I'm being very, very vulnerable here, was emotional. Because, you get that branding, that's the other thing. If you're not stoic and you show what you feel, you're too emotional.
How dare you have emotions? But it's because I feel deeply and I'm very passionate. And that's why I tell women, do not be afraid of being emotional. Do not be afraid of crying. Crying doesn't mean that we're weak. I'm a baller, Jeffrey. I will cry. But it does not mean that I'm not strong and I'm not going to push through. I will cry and push through. Right? And I want women up there to understand that a lot of times that's just who we are. Don't let a man make you feel bad because you cry. And guys, I'm going to put this out there for you guys as well. Like, it's not just a woman thing. Like, as a man, if you feel it, you're supposed to feel it. Bottling your emotions is equivalent to drinking poison. It's an emotional poison. So you as men, I know I walk that path. You're not supposed to feel. You're not supposed to. Don't let anyone inside. Don't let them know what you're going through. Push on. Not saying not to deliver. And I don't think Aisha is saying that either. We're not saying to let your emotions rule you.
No.
Feel it, but get the job done.
Yes, feel it, acknowledge it, and push through all the same. And I'll speak to a turning point in my career where I did, and this was part of the ICD, because Wicon is under the ICD group of companies. They put me on an ICD Road to Leadership program. So I'm saying it was very deliberate. And the first step of that program was to do a feedback survey. 12 people. 3 people that you reported into, 3 people at your level, 3 people that were reporting up into you, and 3 people that you dealt with externally. And when I got back the results of that survey, Jeffrey, I was like, of course they had to talk about your weaknesses and the strengths. I did not even look at the strengths. I looked at the weaknesses and I was like,
5%.
Oh, I'm a failure. Went home and bawled. I'm like, oh, I'm just a horrible leader. And my husband looked at me like, what is wrong with you? The next day I got up and I go, okay, so the first step to changing this is acknowledging this is how you're being perceived. How are you going to work on it? And I went through a deliberate program to work on closing those gaps, including being vulnerable. Like what I'm doing here, what I'm saying here is like, you don't step up and just be this.
I could give a whole talk on that. It took me 10 years to get to the place now where I can just share.
It is very scary to just share and show your weaknesses. That was a part of what I had to work on. Yeah? And once I started working on that, it was just a shift in terms of how I was leading people, how I was interacting with people. And I had a business coach. So they assigned a business coach and I worked with that coach. That coach is still with me today at Proven.
Look at that.
So don't be afraid to reach out for help on your path. Do not be afraid. And then, as I said, fine, little voice talking. Aisha, you need to push through. You need to break through another ceiling. And I reached out to Christopher Williams because I looked at the companies that I would want to work with, and Proven was one of them.
Right.
And the rest is history. I got the role as CEO of Proven Properties, and we had big visions, big dreams, big goals, and we're on the path to achieving it.
Look at that. It's so much you shared a while ago. Oh my gosh. feel like we need a whole other hour just to unpack everything you shared. But let's extract some of, well, let me extract some of the key points I got a while ago. So the first step in anybody looking any position in any company is you need the qualifications. So guys, do you even understand what the qualifications are? It's nice to sit down there and say, I want to run a company. I want to own a company. I want to be in fashion. I want to be a speaker. I want to be a coach. Have you done the research to qualify you, not certify you? 'Cause we can have a whole debate on that. I'm a big advocate about being qualified before you're certified. If you need the certification, like an engineer, I don't want an engineer who's not certified, but are you qualified first and foremost? So you had the information, you went to school, you got the degrees.
Yes, I had the degree.
You had the qualification and the certification.
I was hireable.
Right. Then you had the second step, which is you had the belief. So you applied to where you wanted to go.
Absolutely.
A lot of the times people, I mean, I remember when I used to be an HR manager and I was getting marketers applying for any position. And I said, Yeah. But that happens all the time. It happens all the time.
Did they even read the ad?
There you go. So you really need to go where you belong.
Yes.
No matter how hard that fight may be.
Yeah.
And then, though it was offered, we're going to kind of put it in its own package. You're going to then need more training. We have this thing that when we're finished with school, we're finished with training. And that is the biggest setback I find for most people, is once they have completed their education, their formal education, there's nothing else to learn.
Yeah.
But for you took mentorship, you got into the program, they gave you a business coach, and you have just been, people and paths and programs have just sowed into you and sowed into you and sowed into you.
I've been lucky like that.
I want to say you've been deliberate like that based on what you've shared.
I've been deliberate, but I've also, I wouldn't say luck, but you have to also be in a work environment that facilitates it though, Jeffrey. And understand that if you're not in a work environment that facilitates it, you make that choice because you need it.
Right.
Because some workplaces don't believe in all of this. Like, what is all that? Just get my work done.
Did I ever tell you that I was in training and development? So I know exactly how many workplaces don't believe in it.
They don't believe in it. Like, what's that? No, there's no budget for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would say that I was fortunate to be in an environment that believed in that.
But for the person who does not have that at their workplace, it's not an excuse, because just as we said at the beginning, it comes back to the onus is on you.
Yes, you have that choice.
You need to go and look for the programs. There are hundreds of programs, thousands of programs out there that, though they might not be quote unquote, we'll say accredited. You're not going to get a big certificate from the University of London or the University of West Indies. But if it's a program that helps you to present a little bit better, if it's a program that helps you to interact with people a little bit better, if it's a program that helps you understand and deal with emotions a little bit better, then it's worth that investment in yourself, because technical knowledge is the language, but the role of the leader is the human ability.
Human part. It is.
Folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to be wrapping up Levels and Meds with Aisha Campbell, the CEO of Proven Properties. We'll be right back.
And we're back to Levels and Meds here on the Bridge 99 FM with me, your host, Jeffrey Azan. And joining me in studio is CEO of Proven Properties, Aisha Campbell. Folks, today we've been having a very healthy discussion about women in leadership roles. I'm not even going to go into the rest of it. We're really just talking about women in leadership roles. Remember, if you want to see what's happening in studio, you can head over to thebridge99fm.com. If you're on the move, you can download our mobile app in the Android Play Store, Apple App Store by searching the Bridge 99 FM. And if you missed the entirety of today's episode, you can head over to our YouTube channel by tomorrow to watch the entire interview on our YouTube channel. Just search Levels and Meds. Aisha, we've touched on so much. We've touched on the qualities of a leader. We've spoken about your personal journey in leadership. And during the commercial break, you mentioned something, and I think it's very important for our listeners, is now that you are in this, we'll call it
corporate dominance, quote unquote. You're at the top of the game within the particular company you're in, but you're also a wife, you're a mother. How do you, and you're a human. Let's not forget that part.
Yeah.
We're not just all workers with titles and roles, but we're human.
Yes.
And there has to be something there for the human soul, the human spirit, the human heart. How do you balance it all with those big goals, with those big ambitions, with that huge future, bright future that I'm sure you see for yourself? How do you balance it?
I'm not sure I balance it. I show up every day and try to be the best version of myself for all aspects of my life. And you know, when we step into the workplace, and I'm very cognizant of this even with my team, we are coming with everything. You can't just, let me drop what happened at home, or let me drop what's happened. You're coming with everything. You bring everything to work every day. And it's really about being able to manage all of the moving parts. And it's challenging. I'll be very honest, Jeffrey. It's very challenging because at this level, there's a lot expected at work. But then, of course, as a mom, as a wife, that's super important to me as well. And so when you say also self, I think the biggest lesson that I've learned, or I'm trying to learn, and I mean, I'm still on that path, is that when you don't even take the time to care for yourself and to have yourself in a proper mental space, you can't show up at work, you can't show up for your kids, you can't show up as a wife in the way that you want to. And so, you know, it really cannot be just about working yourself down to the bone, because then when you go home to your kids, there's nothing left.
Absolutely.
There's absolutely nothing left. And then there's the guilt because you want to show up for your kids as well. And I find that is very challenging as a woman in a working CEO woman. You want to be able to do it all. Sometimes it's not really possible, but you have to figure out how you prioritize.
Is there, with the limited time that we have left, is there a key or a tool or a measuring stick that you use to set those priorities? Is there an internal compass? Is there a belief system? How do you select those priorities to the best of your ability?
I would say that I definitely have my faith, grounded in my faith. I am also very family oriented. So my kids, I do all of this. I want them to see a strong woman. I want my daughter to see this. I want my son to see this. So this is a lot for them as well. And both my husband and I are in leadership role. He's the CEO of Wicon now. I'm the CEO of Proven. So, but they see that we do this. They see us working hard. They see the honest way in which we're making a living, which is important. And for me, that's big. That's a big goal for me, for my kids to be able to see and aspire to do whatever they want in their life, but know that it's going to take hard work, right? And it's going to take balance, and it's going to take sacrifices. But at the same time, you want to enjoy life. So when we get to go on vacations, or, as I told you, we have 2 projects coming up on the North Coast, Saul Harbor, and the new one we'll be launching, and you're able to invest in properties like this for your family, or to be able to take that break. Hopefully, these are the things that come out of being really hardworking. Because there's nothing that replaces the hard work and putting in those hours.
So, folks, if there is a balance to be struck, it's definitely the balance of having your priorities, hard work, but most importantly, knowing what you're working hard for. I think that's as good as it gets to wrap up our show.
Yes.
Folks, this has been Levels and Medz here on the Bridge 99 FM. Thank you so much, Aisha, for joining us. This has been phenomenal. As I said, the people said they want a part 2. Who knows? We'll see. We'll find another time to come back and talk, I'm sure.
Thank you for having me.
We know you guys need to go and follow at Proven Properties.
Yes, or Proven Properties. LTD.com is our website.
All right, so we need to go to that. We need to see what's happening there.
Yeah, we have a lot happening.
A
We're
lot.
like excited. We're gonna blow up the real estate landscape across the Caribbean.
Folks, COVID held them back, but it's not holding them back anymore.
No, proven properties. We're just getting started.
I wish you guys could see the excitement in our face right now. Folks, this has been a phenomenal day. Remember, tomorrow is International Women's Day,
Yes.
celebrating equality and equity. So do your best to be a part, be a champion, move the movement forward. When each person wins, everybody wins.
Yes.
And that's really the idea at the end of the day. Big up to my producer in the house, Dom's taking care of business. Big up my technical operator, Kev. Folks, I'll see you next week here on Levels and Meds. And until then, have a great day and don't stop leveling up.